Hey everyone, we're going to be tying a little variation mishmash of a sparkle dun, but we're going to use some different materials. And we're going to tie this for the sulfur hatch. So it's going to be a size 14 today. You can tie these in 14s or 16s, would be a great match. And you can vary the body color a little bit. We're using just a standard TMC 100 size 14. This is uni-thread 6/0. You can use 8/0 here too. That would be probably a good space saver, but start your thread right at the eye. And I wrap back to about the halfway point. Trim your excess. You're going to bring the thread back to about the 1/3 point of the hook. So if you split the hook shank into 1/3, third, 2/3, all the way back. So I find with compare duns and sparkle duns, I make the mistake of tying the hair in too far back. So if you divide up the shank into whatever fraction you're comfortable with, well, you know, it'll help. Compare dun hair available at every fly shop on the planet, I hope. It's a really short, fine deer hair with really nice, solid tips. This is the best thing. You can use some standard deer hair if you have it, but this is going to flare much better. It's not super thin at the tips, so you can really manipulate it the way you're going to want it. I cut a pretty big chunk of this because we're going to pull out some fluff that you're not going to want. If you have a comb, they make some great, really fine-tooth combs for deer hair. Use it. You won't regret it. It'll save you some time at the bench. So remove all that under fluff. Set this in your stacker. Tap it down. Now this is aligning all the tips. Okay, slowly with this short hair, it likes to jump out. So we're pretty well aligned there. But I usually stack compare dun hair twice. I got to pull some of this out. I got a little bit more than I needed for this size 14. Make sure you have as much of that fluff out of there as you can. It's all in the prep work. Okay, that looks pretty good. Into your stacker again. Now this time, you see I'm switching the stacker the opposite direction. I want the tips pointing towards the eye. If you can save yourself a little bit of work just by taking out of the stacker this way, it'll make life a little bit easier. Grab those tips, set your stacker out of the way. Looks pretty good. We want to measure these tips to 1 shank length. So from the back bend up to the eye, looks pretty good. Set your thumb and index finger down on the shank here. This really makes it secure. You're not going anywhere. And we're going to complete a pinch wrap with some pressure, and then a second with a lot more pressure. And then I like to put 3 good wraps down. Now you get all these butts to trim, but first, if you want to keep this from spinning, pull those tips up and put some wraps in front to secure it, and wrap back. You're creating a little bit of a thread dam. This compare dun hair is really durable, so you're wrapping back at it. Okay, separate those. Use your scissors, a bodkin, whatever you need. Come in with your scissors. Trim some of those butts, and we like to trim these at an angle because we're going to use these butts as part of the taper for the body. This part can get a little messy, but that's okay. You're going to wrap over all this stuff anyways. Okay, that's pretty good. Loose wraps with a little bit of pressure here. We're trying to gather these down. We don't want them to flare out. We just want to put some wraps on top of them. And don't worry about the hair yet. That's going to be kind of our last step. But tame those butts down. Okay. Looks great. Heck, you could fish this and probably catch fish. But we're going to take it the next step further. Now, if you don't know, the difference between a sparkle dun and a compare dun is mostly in the tail material. We're going to take a little bit of Antron yarn here, and I split this down the middle. You don't need a full-size hank. If you're tying a really big fly, sure, why not? But I've cut a fairly generous strand here. Pinch wrap, capture this, and I'm going to slide this down so there's not a whole lot of waste. Bring that back to the barb, wrap up, and we're going to fill this gap just to complete the taper here. You can trim any excess, or some folks like to leave that in there. Kind of complete the taper here. That looks good. I just leave this hanging off the back. I find it gets in the way less. Okay, we're going to grab some CDC. This is from Nature's Spirit, but we also have it at our shop from Wapsie and Hairline. Great body material. Not enough people use this stuff. You were using the whole feather. CDC is available in little puffs or the whole feather. We want the whole feather here. And I'm going to, oops, if I drop it, try and clear some space down at the butt here. Really loose wrap here because I want to bring tips back and start securing this up. Shank, wrap your thread to in front of the hair. Again, use that thumbnail to flare out that deer hair. Okay. Grab a hackle plier. I really like these plunger style hackle pliers. Hackles don't break or slip out with these. It's really nice. Grasp that by the butt. And if you give it just a teeny little twist, it'll help keep this all together. And retwist it every time you go around because I want this to be fairly smooth. I don't want all these fibers out just yet. Try and keep those up by the deer hair. Now you're gonna catch some pieces of deer, that's okay, whatever. If you're a really neat fly guy, you like things really tidy, this might not be the pattern for you. That's okay. Okay, I've wrapped right up to the base of the deer hair. Again, using my thumb, I want to flare that deer hair back and out. I'm going to try and sneak at least one, maybe two wraps in front, and I think I'm maxed out there. I'm going to lay 3 wraps down before I let go of that. Come in with your scissors. I always brace my scissors with my thumb against my vise. Trim that stem. And preen everything back before you start wrapping. That's how you trap fibers. So bring everything back. And right now, I'm going to go ahead and whip finish because more thread wraps will not help this fly. Snip that. Now we got a little tidying up to do. So you're going to have some errant CDC fibers. We want that. This is a merger pattern, or at least a pattern that sits pretty low in the water, and we want it to look buggy. These CDC fibers are perfect for that. Fan out your hair. It should be kind of a half circle underneath. You won't have any deer hair. You're not spinning it all the way around the hook here. So this will sit right up against the water. Come in underneath with your scissors. Trim what CDC there is. We only want it up top. And then I usually bring it back, trim it roughly even with the bend of the hook so it's not too crazy. For your tail material, this Antron, I use a sawing motion back and forth with my scissors. Trim that off. And you've got yourself a really cool variant, kind of a mix of things with the CDC body and the sparkle done. But I'm sure this is going to catch some fish for you. Plus, it'll give you an opportunity to play with some new materials. Give her a try. Let us know how you like it. Hope to see you out there on the water.